With the first week of virtual classes in the books, students have flocked back to Washington State's Pullman campus. So too have the parties and a surge in COVID-19 cases.
We are out looking for the violations.
Under a city law, officers can hand out citations to anyone who helped organize a party, invited others to that party, or if that party took place at their house. Police Chief Gary Jenkins.
For them, it's not that big a deal, but for others in the community, the circumstances can be fatal.
Some students say they've seen gatherings of more than 40 people on more than one night this past week.
Most of the time they don't have masks, and a lot of them look like they're headed out to party. It's a little bit scary. I really don't want to contract it.
And with the county currently sitting in the red at a high risk for spread, this weekend could prove pivotal.
It's hard not seeing the people that you want to go out and see all the time, but, sometimes you got to make that sacrifice for the greater good.
Looking more like a fort, this is the East Precinct tonight, surrounded by concrete barriers and new fencing at the top.
I think it's a lot. It's grown to be a lot.
Crews with SDOT spent much of the day installing those new additions. The mayor's office says Seattle police requested the wall after protests like this one from earlier in the week, where a man hopped over an existing fence to start this fire. He was later arrested, and police say others that same night used quick-dry concrete on the exterior locks of the building.
I think it's a good way to deter violence or any kind of protest, standoffs between police officers. It's a way to protect the building without having to put actual bodies out in front of it.
But most people who live near the precinct don't buy it.
They're just trying to make a show to play into some conservative idea that Seattle is under attack. It's not under attack.
Between those fortified barriers and the current state of policing in the city, Ben Circum says it sends the wrong message.
You can't just build a fence around your problems. You need to solve what's within. We're not okay with what's going on with your police department. We're not okay with how you're treating the people around it.
It started as a candlelight vigil for Summer Taylor, who died after being hit by a car during a protest on I-5. The flashpoint were cars with flashers parked on the road to protect the vigil that was on the sidewalk, protect them from someone driving into them.
Nobody was damaging anything. There was no spray paint anywhere. We were having a peaceful vigil, and that's how they reacted to a peaceful vigil.
Police asked the cars to be moved. Then a tow truck arrived, and it escalated after that. Christina, known as Rebellion Baby, routinely streams the morning and evening marches.
And that's when I see a cop, grabbed my phone and my gimbal and ripped it out of my hand and threw it in the street.
We haven't heard many protesters tell their stories of late because
you guys don't show the whole story.
It's a deep distrust of the media.
If you're not judging cops by its most violent cops, why are you judging protesters by its most violent protesters?
They're upset at their portrayal, just showing the confrontation with police and saying every protester seeks violence.
Please don't let them.
For some, telling the whole story is extremely emotional.
We trust you to that one. Because you do this from your heart. You'll be lying on TV.
Every morning and night, there are marches with many factions, with many different purposes, but one goal: eliminate police injustice.
Every life that has been stolen should hurt this much, and the fact that it doesn't disgusts me.
They say the intent of the daily marches is peaceful, and that needs to be shown on TV too.
I'm hurting. I'm hurting.
You never get used to it.
After assisting in nearly half a dozen storms, Hurricane Laura was one Tevye Friedman will never forget.
There was a couple moments that, we're kind of staring at the roof, hoping it stayed on. I heard some brave men tremble.
He was riding out the storm in Baton Rouge as it made landfall near Lake Charles, Louisiana. He said the sustained winds were remarkable.
We were all just kind of fingers crossed, didn't know what we were going to get in the morning.
And it was in the morning that he and the rest of the Embark Northwest team went to work. Most of the crew here had left on Thursday to help with search and rescue in an area covered in debris, broken windows, and toppled trees.
Tons of trees down. There are major highways that every single power pole looks like a twig.
Sil Wong Underwood was part of the search and rescue team, saying they had to help many elderly people who chose to stay in town as the hurricane hit.
There were plenty of people who were trapped in their homes, could not leave their homes.
Sustained winds from Laura were as strong as 150 miles an hour. Whether it was through their own efforts or through search dogs like Asher, the group spent much of their time looking through different neighborhoods to make sure anyone that needed help would get it. And though they're happy to be home in the Northwest, they know this isn't the end of the work folks will have to put in to get Lake Charles back to what it once was.
It's going to take weeks, possibly months, for the power and water to all get restored.